Electro Vox, and it's 2023, and we are at Infest Festival. So I'm joined by the wonderful Test Department, or Test Dept. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me. So if you could just introduce yourself to the sort of people watching and just explain what sort of music you make.
Hi, I'm Gray. I'm founder and member of Test Department, who make music with found instruments and other electronics. And yeah.
The past rules the present. Are we witness to the triumph of capitalism? Financial meltdown, corporate master. The race to the bottom is getting faster.
I'm Paul, another founder member of Test Department. Yeah, we make music which tries to go against the grain. Really, we are definitely not rock and roll.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me, you've brought a lot of equipment with you today. Is that right?
Yes.
It's going to be noisy.
Yeah. We are. Yeah. If you make the heavy metal jokes, you might. But yes. We are having like heavy metal. We have actually. If we put that basis, we actually carry that in bags as hand luggage on. You believe it.
Well, not quite hand
Not
luggage.
well.
Yeah.
Whole luggage, but yeah, it's a lot.
Okay.
It's quite strange.
So the selection of questions that you've picked. So first one is, how different is your music now from when you first started?
Yeah, I think in the beginning we literally had a load of scrap metal. We had maybe a bass for a few shows, but mainly it was just scrap metal and a few drums, which we got. That was our get our inspiration, because we didn't have any money, we didn't have any access to instruments. So these were our instruments, salvaged from the landscape around us, which was
Proper industrial.
yeah. I mean, there was lots of factories closed down, and the Docklands at the time were kind of wasteland in the post-industrial sort of Thatcher's 80s. So there was loads of stuff available to salvage and turn into instruments. That developed over time, and we've done lots of different things over the whole arc of our career with orchestras and many other instrumentation. Now we look at more. We still use a lot of found sound in terms of recording, and turn them into samples and other sound sources. And we use a lot of electronics. So I think that's the main difference from the early days.
Yeah.
I think there's different ways of looking at it. I mean, when we started out, we used to live in Deptford, and it was New Cross area, and that was very close to the River Thames, and there was lots of scrapyards down there. Now you go down there, and where the scrapyards used to be, it's kind of Waitrose and luxury apartments, and that's kind of very typical thing, not just of London, but probably a lot of industrial kind of spaces over throughout the UK. And also in terms of what we used to go around with a van and just go into scrapyards, pick things up, and just like barter with the people there, and it was all kind of they have a bit of a laugh. What do you want that for and that? But it was they would let you go on site and test things out for its sonic resonance. And these days, if you want to get stuff, it's easier to find it on eBay and get some, than it is to go out and search for it in the same way, which is a massive shift from where we were to where we are now.
Kind of sounds like an amazing episode of Scrap Heap Challenge. It's like, go out to the scrapyard and make a band. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And then the next question you've picked is, what song or album of yours are you most proud of, and why?
If we go back to the early days, I think, you know, we were one of the only and first bands to actually go and tour behind the Iron Curtain when it still existed, although you could say it's maybe coming back. But we went out there, and I have Polish heritage. You know, my father was Polish, so going to Poland, doing stuff and writing songs that would kind of influence me at the time. So the song Gdansk, or Dansk, to say it correctly, was an important part, I think, of the early Test department, and it kind of set the tone. And I think even now, if we go out to Eastern Europe, go to places like Hungary, Poland, you know, people remember those early days, and actually they were kind of really rough recordings done in a kind of basement somewhere, but they still have great resonance and have, you know, lasted, you know, over time. So Dansk as a piece of music, it is something that I can be kind of quite proud of writing and taking it out into the world.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
People remember them or they've heard about them through the ages. You know, new people come through, but they've kind of heard that resonance coming through. Yeah.
Okay. And then the next one is, what are you working on at the moment, and what plans do you have?
So at the moment we're working on an unannounced show, which we can't announce. It's going to be, it's a commission, and it's going to be a different direction, different new beginnings, new sounds.
It's going to be in a big industrial space somewhere in Europe, and we will be kind of utilising the space, this old industrial space, which is kind of still, some parts of it are kind of almost still functioning as a factory, but anyway, we'll be bringing that.
Brings to mind sort of tribal music in a factory. That's great.
We've got some music in a dance piece coming up. Gary Clark, choreographer, who's used that music in a few pieces before, and he's got a new piece coming up which he's wanting to use that music in. And
it's about he did a factory. He's from a mining community up in Yorkshire, and so he originally did a piece called, I think, Coal, and that was about how the destruction of those communities, but also about how then those industrial spaces were taken over and used as kind of rave, kind of warehouse party stuff. So it kind of bridged that gap and kind of, but showed the kind of damage to the community as well as the kind of other side of it. And now he's doing a new one, which he said is the third part of the Thatcher trilogy, which is about the anti-LGBT legislation that was put into place and how that's
all the horrible out. Section 21 stuff, and all that kind of awful stuff.
So he's quite, you know, he does kind of quite hard hitting political stuff within the dance scene. So that's kind of, it's lovely to be invited to do stuff, you know, with those within a different kind of scene from where we normally work. Like we've done quite a few pieces with dance in the past, but you know, Gary Clark's, I think, quite an exceptional talent within Britain. That'll be touring, I think, next. I think they're previewing it next year and then touring it throughout Britain in 2025, which is not a long way off, but time goes.
And we also have a film in the Reina Sofia in Madrid, in an exhibition called Machinations.
Oh, okay.
Kind of machine, kind of art and political machinery and all different stuff. We have a film there.
Yeah, so quite a lot going on.
Yeah, we just did something as well in the BFI in London. They've got someone who's a curator of their archive, and he just recently put together a film which premiered a few weeks ago called Metal Machine Movies, and it had people like from Nye Boughton to Beau Gamelon Ensemble to Survival Research Laboratories, and sort of people that had done sort of some quite dangerous work, I suppose, before things like health and safety took their evil hold on the artistic environment in this country.
Fair enough. Okay, right. So we'll move on to the silly and the serious piles of questions now.
Okay.
So 7. So Gray, if you'd like to go first, what kind of question would you like?
Silly.
Silly? Okay. Oh,
Oh, I'll go for serious.
okay.
Serious.
Silly.
Serious.
Okay.
Oh, let's end on a serious note.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So
All right.
we've got 2 more left. If you want to do
Do one
silly, then a serious.
Yeah.
Yeah? Silly, then a serious. Okay. Perfect. Alright, so first one's a silly one, and it's, if you could invent a new holiday, what would it be, and how would people celebrate it?
It would be a holiday to celebrate the end of the United Kingdom, and we would all have a whole year off, and it would just be one whole long year party.
Yes, good answer.
Yeah, I'd have the holiday to celebrate the end of Brexit,
Yeah.
if it ever came about.
Yeah, I think we joined again with a massive party, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
That would definitely be a good.
Yeah, it'll be a big party, definitely.
Alright, so serious one. What legacy do you want your music to leave behind for people, and what impact do you hope it leaves on people?
I think from the previous conversation, previous questions, our work has evolved and we have branched into different areas, and a lot of people from different artistic communities have been interested to kind of work with us. So I think that kind of as a legacy, I think is quite important in the future, to see that you've actually had an effect, or across the board, rather than it just be just music, really. So from theatre to dance to installation to whatever, but whatever's possible, really. So
every sense of interpretation and art.
yeah, I mean, we don't really see ourselves as a music group. We kind of more of I suppose an artistic collective is how we kind of prefer to be seen in that sense. So
Yeah. Okay. So expression.
Yeah, and also I think we've worked in different struggles, the miners and print workers, and we kind of have kept connections in those. So I think that kind of legacy of art and activism and kind of in workers' struggle is also kind of something that we kind of like very our legacies would hopefully kind of keep that idea alive, where those things are linked.
Okay. And another serious one. So which album or live performance changed your life, and why? So any artist, album or performance.
Yeah.
well, punk, I suppose. We could go to punk. We could go to the Pistols. We were quite young then, but that what happened there was quite important. I mean, Johnny himself these days is a bit of a prat. It's kind of quite widely realised, but actually, his legacy and what that created, was quite important. So that was, from that, and then really punk was seen to be a bit of a kind of a short burst of energy, but it did stimulate what became like the post-punk scene as a much wider ranging creative world, with electronica, noise, everything else, from bands like the pop group Throbbing Gristle, Cabaret Voltaire, very diverse bands that influenced and still have a huge influence today. So I think it's that transition really from punk into the kind of post-punk world.
And the early industrial, probably Gristle and Cabaret Voltaire and that kind of early movement is which we kind of were involved with. We worked with both of them, but I think that also was opened up a world of different sonic possibilities, which we've always explored as well.
Yeah, exactly so. And a silly one. So if you could time travel to any historical event just to silently observe, what would it be and why?
I'd quite like to go back to see the walls of Jericho, to see them coming down, to see how kind of sonic resonance can affect buildings. So how can that also affect?
And how can I sample it?
So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, good one.
I'd be interested to see the kind of the time immediately after the Russian Revolution, where there was a lot of kind of creative art and the pro-cult movement and all this, really where people had this kind of attitude of just going out and just making completely new art without boundaries in some ways. Before it was curtailed pretty soon after by Stalin, but I think that's interesting, that explosion of creativity.
Yeah,
would be interesting to be witness to.
Okay, and then a serious one. So which lyrics by another artist, if any, have stuck with you for your entire life?
I mean, I saw Patti Smith the first time she came over here, and I kind of was woken up to the idea of poetry as lyrics and kind of putting that to music, where it didn't have to be songs and didn't have to be this or that. It could just be words or chants or different things. So that was live, and the album Horses, I guess, was a kind of catalyst for me in terms of what was possible there, off the top of my head.
Last Poets, Gil Scott-Heron was in the early beginnings of the Last Poets, and the classic song, "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised."
Ah, yeah.
Sticks there, and we'll wait and see.
Yeah, it's a heavy line, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, so a silly one. Have you considered a signature dance move to any of your tracks? And if not, make one up.
I think we'll think about that one, and maybe we'll incorporate it in the set tonight.
Yeah, just some sort of robotic dance move going on.
No, we'll see.
Yeah.
See how the thought evolves.
Or just set off your fans trying out new dance moves, and you'll be like, "What the fuck are they doing?"
Yeah. Our first single, Compulsion, was a favourite of the LA gay scene, and there was they did develop a whole dance routine for it. I can't remember what it was now. I do remember.
Amazing. If I find it on YouTube though, I'll edit it in maybe. Right, wonderful. And then the last serious one is there an instrument that you wish you had learnt, and do you think your music career would be different if you had learnt it?
Yes. I'd have liked to have learned. I didn't learn any instrument. I played a few blows on the recorder at school, and that was about it. Retrospectively, I'd like to have learned an instrument, or just probably piano, to be able to put things together. But the thing is, music would have been completely different if I hadn't done it, and so kind of glad I didn't.
Yeah, I did attempt to learn the violin in early days at school, but it was far too torturous for anybody, so probably just as well I didn't continue with that. But yeah, it would be nice to be able to play a violin concerto or something like that, but I've stuck to not really being able to read or understand music or play any instruments till now, so I'll stick with that.
Right, so I do have one final silly question, so I do apologise, but this one was specifically asked by someone, so I do apologise. Adam asks, how many departments would Test Department test if Test Department could test departments? And where's your hard hat?
I'll tell you what, how many departments would Test Department test if Test Department could test departments? What's it doing? All right. And the answer is, it seems like you're using the word test department in a playful and hypothetical context. Without more specific information, it's challenging to provide a precise answer. The number of departments that a test department could test would depend on various factors, such as its capabilities, resources, and the number of other departments it needs to test. If you have a more specific scenario or question in mind, please provide additional details and I'll do my best to assist you.
Oh, there you go, Adam.
There you go.
You've been
Hope
told.
you're satisfied with that answer. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And
That is actually quite a good answer.
it's very diplomatic, isn't it? Answer, yeah. Okay. And then lastly, so do you have anything that you'd like to say to your fans?
Hi. Yeah, looking forward to playing tonight. I hope you find it enjoyable, meaningful, and can take something away from it that will help you to improve and enjoy your life. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you ever so much for joining me. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.